Chain Mastery University. So this week we're going to continue on with our DeFi for Developers series, all right? And we're going to talk about a topic that's really important if you want to work with DeFi protocols, okay? And this is the topic of forking the Ethereum mainnet and using it for your own development purposes, all right? So what do I mean by that? Well, forking is a concept in software where you basically take something and make a copy of it, all right? And that copy is now your own unique copy that's different from the original, all right? That's what's called a fork. It's like a fork in the road. So in this case, what we're going to do is fork the Ethereum mainnet so that we can actually use it and interact with it without having to use the real Ethereum mainnet and risk like real cryptocurrency, all right? So this is pretty cool, and this is something you need to know about if you want to work with DeFi protocols, all right? So why is that? Well, basically, a lot of DeFi protocols some of them aren't supported on test networks, or like their test network versions aren't very useful. Like sometimes they don't actually work. So I'm going to show you how to fork the Ethereum mainnet and why you might do it in this case, right? So what we're going to do is use Ganache CLI, all right? So Ganache CLI is pretty cool because this is a development blockchain that allows you to do some pretty advanced stuff. And one example is forking the Ethereum mainnet. There's actually a way to do it. You just pass in an argument, you tell it to fork, and then you give it the address of an Ethereum node and the URL of an Ethereum node. And it spins up a copy of the Ethereum blockchain on your computer that you can work with that doesn't actually use the real Ethereum blockchain. It's just a copy of it, a virtual copy that you can work with. And you can do things like act like other accounts on the Ethereum blockchain that you don't have access to. For example, like if somebody holds a bunch of Ethereum cryptocurrency, you can just act like that person, okay? You don't even have to have access to their private keys. So if you're working with DeFi protocols, you need to be able to do this. And so like one example that we're going to talk about today is the DAI stablecoin. All right, so go to Etherscan, go to DAI. DAI is a really common smart contract to use when you're talking about DeFi. So DAI is a stablecoin. It's a cryptocurrency that's price doesn't change. We've got lots of videos on DAI inside this program, also on YouTube if you want to check more about that. But it's a smart contract, right? It's a token, it's a currency on the blockchain governed by smart contracts. And sometimes you need DAI with DeFi protocols. So for example, maybe you want to do a flash loan. So that's like where you're borrowing cryptocurrency instantly to make a trade or something like that on Ethereum. Sometimes you need DAI to perform a flash loan, to develop one. And if you're trying to figure out how to do this on your own computer, you might need some DAI. And you might need a lot of DAI. You might need, a million DAI, for example, to try to do this. And so it can be really challenging maybe to get a million DAI on a test network for development purposes. And I'm going to show you how you can actually get something like a million DAI for your own testing purposes if you're trying to develop DeFi applications and smart contracts and things like that, okay? So what we're going to do is basically take Ganache CLI, fork the main Ethereum blockchain, and then find someone who has a lot of DAI, maybe a million DAI, for example, and we're going to unlock that account so that we can act as that person and, send her as much DAI as we need. All right, so I'll show you exactly that right now. So first thing you want to do is few prerequisites. The first thing is make sure that you have Ganache CLI installed. All right. So again, this is the command line version of Ganache that the CLI stands for, as opposed to the graphical user interface or GUI version of Ganache, which you might have used if you've followed any of my other tutorials. So you just do npm install Ganache CLI. All right. So I've already done this, so I'm not going to do it on screen here. Make sure that completes. All right. The next thing you need is an Infura URL. So go ahead and sign up for Infura if you haven't already, and grab the connection string that it gives you. Basically, Infura is a blockchain as a service, or Ethereum node as a service, I should say. It gives you access to an Ethereum node for free without having to run one yourself. And that's how we're going to connect to the mainnet, is by connecting to an Ethereum node, this Infura node. Okay. So go ahead and grab one of those, keep it handy. The last thing we're going to do is go and create a project. So head over to github.com/JabbUniversity/starter kit, copy this URL. We're going to download the code in the description below. And we're going to say git, let's actually do this, sorry, it's my old project. And say git, let me bump the font up here. Make this a little easier for you all to see. Sorry about that. Let's see here, git clone. And then I'm going to say Ganache fork, okay? And then I'm going to enter that directory. Okay, and now I'm going to open up my text editor, use Sublime Text here. And so inside here, what we want to do is go ahead and just keep this handy. But now what we want to do is actually start Ganache CLI and unlock the account, okay? So what I can do is do like this, say Ganache-CLI, that's the command line interface, that's the command, okay? And I'm gonna run it on port 7545, because that's what's set in my project, right? In here, 7545 is the default, okay? So I can tell it to run port 7545 like this. Next, I want to say fork, and this is where I pass in the URL of my Ethereum node. So go ahead and take the Infura URL that you received in the previous step, all right? Go ahead and grab that, paste it in here, all right? So I'm revealing this on screen, it's probably not the best idea, but since we're inside this program, I'm not too concerned. All right, so I'll say -- unlock, and this is how you actually unlock an account that has a lot of DAI. So what we're gonna do is go to Etherscan, all right, and find someone who holds DAI. We'll go to the holders tab here, all right, and it's already sorted by their balance. So we'll find someone with a lot of DAI. So we'll just click on one of these, and you can find whoever you want to, but I've already saved a specific address here. All right, so let's just look at it up. I found one earlier. So we can see this person already has like a lot of ether, and they also have a lot of DAI. So you can find your own. This is the one I'm going to use. So I'm going to go back here and say unlock that specific account. Just paste it in. So Ganache CLI, here's the port, fork mainnet, here's your Infura URL, okay, and unlock that account. And there we go. All right. So now what we can do is make sure that we have access to this account and that we're actually forking mainnet. So what I'm going to do is create a script so we can run some code examples. I'll say, let me bump the font up again here. Sorry, I'm not sure why the terminal does that. That's really annoying. Let me minimize that again. So I'm going to create a code example with some scripts. So I'll make a new directory for the script. I'll say mkdir or makedir scripts. All right. And then touch scripts. Let's see here. We'll call it send DAI.js. Okay. So Truffle allows you to use scripts that you can run over and over again, which is really nice rather than having to do it in the console every time. So it looks like that didn't work. Let's try it again. Oh, that's my code directory. So let's go to the DAI directory. Let's say cd DAI faucet. Sorry about that. Or no, this is sorry. I keep forgetting the name of the project. Let's call this Ganache fork. All right, let's do that again. So let's make this directory. Okay. So now here's our script, and I'm gonna paste in some boilerplate here. All right. So we'll do this. All right, so we'll start off with the boilerplate script. So you can check this out in the project code below if you want to. But essentially, this is how you bootstrap a Truffle script. It relies on an exported function. In this case, will be an async function, and we'll have some try-catch behavior, and it'll run the callback here. So don't worry if you don't understand everything inside of here. Basically, all you really need to know is we run script in here. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is keep track of the DAI holder. It's a const DAI holder, and I want to paste in the address that we fetched from Etherscan. So it's the same address that is here, all right, that we used to unlock. We want to keep track of this address here. All right, so we'll say DAI holder We'll keep track of their address. The next thing we want to do is get the DAI contract. So you can go to Etherscan, find DAI, or you can just do this from the project code that I pasted below. And let's just back up. All right, you can go to, let's go to the contract itself. You can copy the ABI right here. Copy the ABI, all right, then copy the address. You need both of those pieces of information. All right, so save those to 2 variables inside of here. We'll say, DAI. Here's the ABI. All right, here's the address. So this is just the description of how the smart contract works. This is the address deployed on the network. Okay, so now we'll fetch a new copy of that from the blockchain like this. Boom. All right, DAI contract equals new Web3 ETH contract at this address. This ABI address. This is how you create a new contract with the DAI token. Okay. And then inside of here, what we want to do is just get the balance. Okay, let's just get the balance of this DAI holder here, like this. All right, so let's say balance equals await DAI contract methods balance of. All right, and paste in the DAI holder address, and then make sure you do call right here. Okay, so because call is how you actually call the function. Just doing this returns the function code, but this actually runs the function. Okay, and then we just log the balance to console. Okay, so let's go back here on that script. We do it like this: truffle exec scripts. Let's see here, send DAI, and this is not the full script yet. This is gonna get the balance and make sure that everything's working properly. So womp womp. All right, so I just installed those. So sorry about that. Let's try to run the script again and see what happens. See if it actually logs the balance. Okay, boom, there we go. Here's the DAI holder balance. Perfect. So we've successfully forked the mainnet, and we have gotten the DAI balance of this rich DAI holder here. Okay. So the next thing we want to do is actually send some DAI, because we want to be able to sign transactions from this account. That's the real power of this. We've unlocked it, so we can pretend like we are this account and actually like send the DAI that we have. Okay. So let's get a recipient. All right, let's fetch the accounts from the blockchain, like these accounts here inside Ganache. Right, the ones that were provided for us. We have access to these. They're in our wallet. All right, so let's get one, and we'll make the first one the recipient. Okay. And then the next thing is we want to send DAI to the recipient. All right. So we'll do that like this. We'll say DAI. Look at the DAI contract methods transfer, and we want to tell it who it's going to. So it's the recipient. All right, and the value, we'll send 100 DAI, okay? But you express 100 DAI like this. Web3 utils, two-way, I'll say 100, and we'll say ether, okay? And then finally, we'll do send, all right? You want to make sure that you give the right address. So here's the real powerful piece. You can act like you are you can act like you are the DAI holder because you've unlocked the account by doing this. Say from, this is the account it's coming from, and say DAI holder, right? So this is the really critical part. You specify who signed the transaction, and this is how you sign it. You specify the from account, and they are unlocked, so they can sign the transaction, right? So finally, we'll make sure that it worked by console logging the recipient balance. So we'll fetch the recipient balance just like we got the DAI holder balance, just like this, and we'll console log the recipient balance, right? Save that, run the script. Let's do it here. All right, so send DAI, and let's see what happens here. Boom, there you go. So we just received 100 DAI from the other account. Awesome, let's run it again. All right, there we go, works, perfect. So now we can sign transactions from this unlocked account. We verified that, that's great. So next thing we want to do is show you how to send DAI, how to use DAI inside of a different smart contract. And this is where it gets really important for doing like flash loans and things like that. Sometimes your smart contract for a flash loan needs DAI balance, and this is where it gets complicated. So I'm not gonna create like an entire flash loan contract, but I'll show you how to create a contract that can interact with the DAI token. All right, so let's create a new smart contract inside of here. Let's call it source contracts. Let's create a new one here. Sorry, new file. We'll call it DAI faucet. So essentially what this is going to do is be a smart contract faucet that dispenses DAI for other people when they want to request it. So they can just request DAI, and it will send DAI to them, right? So we'll declare the Solidity programming language version 0.5.0, and we'll call this DAI faucet like this. All right, and then we'll say this. So essentially what it's going to do is have a function that will request DAI. All right, and then inside of there, essentially what someone will do is this will transfer DAI to caller, okay? So we need a couple things. We need to know how to access DAI. Okay, so inside the smart contract, how you do it is you create an interface. So an interface is an incomplete smart contract. It doesn't have all of the internal wiring of a smart contract. It just tells you like the type of functions that it has. So you can create an interface like this, say interface DAI token, okay? And inside of here, we can just describe the functions that DAI token has, okay? But instead of doing all of them, what we'll just do is say the transfer function. That's the only one that we need. So we can create like this. Basically, we just tell it how it works. Boom. We just say it has a function named transfer. It takes 2 arguments, 2 and the amount, and it's external, and it returns a Boolean. And then we don't actually put the function code inside of there. We just describe the interface of the function, all right? And this is really powerful because we don't need to implement all the functions. We just the functions that we need, okay? And so whenever we create this DAI faucet, we can tell it where DAI token is like this, all right? So all this does is it basically just creates a reference to the DAI token like this. Here's the actual DAI token address, all right? And you paste in we just instantiate like this, pass it in. We store it to a state variable like this, and we call it DAI token, all right? And then finally what we can do is transfer the DAI that's requested to the user like this. So you say DAI token transfer, we use the function that we just called, all right? Pass in message sender, that's the person who's requesting the DAI, right? And then we put in the amount. So in this case, this is just gonna be like 1 DAI, I think, or maybe like 10 DAI. So it's just 1 followed by 18 zeros, or 10. I can't really tell from the example here, right? I can't remember what I put in there. So we'll save this. We need to create a migration. All right, so migrations, we'll say initial migration, and we'll say new file, and we'll say deploy contracts, and paste this in, and we'll just call this DAI faucet. Okay, so now let's say truffle migrate. This will put the smart contract on the blockchain that we just created. Okay. Let's wait for this to finish, and it should work just fine. So while it's doing that, I'm gonna create a new script here that we'll call request DAI, right? Request DAI.js, paste this in. All right, so that worked, perfect. So inside of here, what we want to do is, instead of just sending DAI to the recipient, we want to test our faucet out. We want to send DAI to the faucet smart contract and then let people request it from there, okay? So we'll do it like this. Basically, we need to import the DAI faucet into our request DAI script. All right, and then we want to clear out all this stuff. All right, let's just get rid of all this so we don't confuse ourselves. So we want to put the script code inside of here, but we have the DAI faucet, we have the ABI, the address, the DAI contract, and the DAI holder, okay? So first, let's fetch the faucet contract like this. We'll just say, faucet contract equals await DAI faucet, right here, deployed. Then next we want to get the recipient, just like we did in the other script. We'll just fetch all the accounts and get the first one, like this. All right, that's the first account. All right, so next we want to do is let that recipient request DAI from the faucet, like this. Boom. Faucet contract request DAI. All right, and then let them see who it's from. Okay. But actually, sorry, I missed a step. Before we get the recipient, we want to send DAI from the DAI holder to the faucet. Make sure the faucet's funded, because if they're trying to request it here, it won't have any DAI and it'll just throw an exception. Okay, so we do that like this. Boom. So right after we fetch the faucet, we send DAI to the faucet like this. DAI methods transfer, faucet contract address, web3 tills 100 DAI basically. And we send it from the DAI holder. So the DAI holder sends the DAI to the faucet smart contract so that it has funds to dispense to the recipient. And now the recipient requests the DAI, and then finally we'll check the recipient balance to make sure that the balance was transferred. Right? So let's run the script again and see if it works. Actually, sorry, let's say request DAI. Let's see here. The moment of truth. Boom, there we go. So the recipient received 1 DAI. We can run it again, and it'll work. Let's just see. Boom, there we go. All right, so that is it. That's all I got for today's video. So essentially, this is a really critical thing to know about if you're trying to work with DeFi protocols to fork the mainnet. We forked it with Ganache CLI just like this. We started the blockchain with a copy of the mainnet like this on port 7545. We took our Ethereum URL, passed it in. We unlocked a rich DAI holder account that we found. We got the DAI smart contract. This is pretty advanced, sophisticated stuff. If you want to become a real world blockchain developer and work with DeFi and open finance. So highly recommend mastering this skill if you want to do that. All right. So hope you like this video, and until next time.